Hello, welcome to Two Guys Tech. I am John. This is Rich. Welcome to our weekly show where we talk about this week's news in tech. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good.
Do you want to talk about the fact we've got
yes.
a chat?
Yeah.
I said yeah, and apparently when I say yeah, it says it 5 times because we stream
This is
to
where
5
we
different
can
services.
respond like, why yes, YouTube.
Yeah, don't do that because then everybody sees it. Hello. Anyway. Yeah.
Want to start?
Yeah, I think I could do
Okay.
that. Should I start?
Yeah, let's do it.
Now you, not me.
Yeah, I think you're first.
I'm first. I'm just messing with it. Okay, I will go first. I'm going to be talking about some video games. Microtransactions.
Love them.
Oh gosh. So yesterday was announced and today it went into action on Battlefield 5, which is a game that I play. I have a bunch of other people that play it. John refuses to buy it because he's smart. Bad. So today you can use real money. And by the way, stepping back here, we always talk a lot about EA, who is the distributor of Battlefield 5. The game is made by DICE, but I think DICE is owned by EA. So
I think so too.
Let's just call it EA then. But EA likes to charge microtransactions for you to buy stuff.
After you already buy the game.
Yeah, you bought the game, you dumped $60 on the game, and then they're like, so, you want some cool stuff? Anyway, Battlefield 5 didn't actually have any of that microtransaction junk in it, but that's over today. I haven't downloaded it yet, by the update, so...
Right.
But as soon as I start up the computer, it's going to get it. Anyway, so what are they starting with? Well, they're starting with giving you the option to use real money to buy window dressings. And I use the word window dressings to describe skins on your guns and outfits that you can wear to look different. Later on, they've got some other... I'm not condoning this. I'm not. I want to just say straight up, hey, Michelle.
Okay.
Hello, Utopia. I'm not condoning this behavior. But some of the stuff you can buy is kind of cool, and I can see why you'd want to charge for it.
Like?
All right, so some of the stuff that they're offering is obviously the cosmetic stuff, which I'm not a big fan of. Like, oh, look, my gun is a different kind of camo. But you can get custom players.
Okay.
And those custom players have different voices.
Okay.
Which is, and I'm just going to say from a product standpoint, having something unique that you pay for actually makes sense, right? I feel like my cries are falling on deaf ears, but I'm going to say yes, it does. Because they had to make that. So for you to get it, you'd have to buy it. That makes sense to give them something extra. Later on this spring, things get different.
Okay.
Later on in the spring, you'll be able to use your money to skip tiers and just jump up to the next level.
That I have a massive problem with.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you'll be able to use your money to jump up in higher tier. Jumping up in higher tier will then allow you to get all the rewards of that while not having to grind for it. Because these games, you typically play and you play and you play and you slowly gain XP. As you do that, everyone else is organically supposed to be gaining slowly as well.
You're legitimately paying money to win.
But yes. So EA claims that the elite packs, that's the thing that lets you like pick a different character with different voices, who gets a bunch of like unique personal items. Mm-hmm. Those items they promise won't affect actual like performance in the game.
No advantages.
Right. It's like, oh, you got a special melee weapon, you get a hammer or something. I don't know, but that won't be any stronger than the typical like generic bayonet or whatever.
Right.
That's not to be said that, you know, if you can spend money and jump to level 50 and get all the perks along the way and all the XP bonuses that come along with it, and boom, you've got it. I'm having a hard time here because I kind of struggle with, I hate the grinding. I hate getting into that game because I'm a casual player.
Okay.
I hate getting in that game and getting my butt handed to me because there's people who can just play and play and play, and they get to these high levels and then they can just kick my butt.
Right.
So The one thing I don't have is time. The one thing I do have is some money, and so I can trade that. It's a value proposition. Now I'm talking, corporate speak. But anyway.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I didn't recognize the people.
Hey, Miguel.
I just want to point out though, like you spend time at work to get money, to have time to play video games. You spend time at work to buy a $60 video game, but you want to save time to advance in a video game.
See, that's where you're wrong. That's the trap.
Can I just point out how ironic that is?
That's the trap of of capitalism. Like, well, I need to make money so I can have things I want.
It's like invisible make-believe skins for guns.
Yes, I wouldn't buy that stuff. I wouldn't buy the skins for the guns.
Good.
But I would buy a level 50 tier pack.
See, the thing is, if no one bought this stuff, they wouldn't do it. And so everyone complains about it, and the game company throws it in there.
This is not Star Wars, what was it?
Battlefront.
Battlefront. Battlefront was the one where you had to buy the packages to get to higher levels. That was totally not legit.
Well, they would do it if they could.
Oh, they would do it, right. But
they cut as many corners as they can. They push the limit of what we will stand for.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Reddit goes nuts, they're like, oh, we didn't mean to do that.
Oops, we're sorry. Here,
Oops.
have some free stuff.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, but who else? We've had other games do that too. That's just like, here's some sorry money. So I don't know what you guys think, if it's something you're going to buy. I mean, we all universally seem to hate EA.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, it is easy. So
step 1, buy one product, and step 2, hate it.
But buy the next product and the next product.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's how I think about that. Moving on, shall we?
All right. Speaking of companies that are sorry but not sorry.
Sorry but not sorry.
If you have a newish MacBook, a lot of words. I was going to say.
I have a newish MacBook Pro right here.
Yeah, does that have the butterfly keys?
It has the butterfly keys. Don't get me started about how terrible they are.
So there's different kinds of keyboards that have different kinds of switches. Apple uses a switch that's called the butterfly, and it basically allows the MacBook to probably be 0.5 millimeter thinner. And that 0.5 millimeter causes everyone a headache because if you type, which people tend to do if they own a computer,
yes,
you don't get a lot of haptic feedback.
Yeah,
and I'm a big fan of tactile feedback.
You think the tactile feedback's the problem with the butterfly keys?
Besides them not working.
Yeah, because mine's if somebody sneezes in another continent and dust blows across and gets underneath it, it just stops working.
Right. Well, I mean, you type on a keyboard, I like feeling it go down. I like travel.
Yes,
I like keyboard travel.
Yeah, that's why we like mechanical keyboards. Who doesn't like mechanical?
I don't know.
Yeah, yours makes a better click.
I'm just saying.
So tell me about what's going on here.
Okay, so Apple actually apologized for people suffering the butterfly keyboard problems. But then they said the vast majority of Mac notebook customers are having a positive experience with the new keyboard.
I had Apple actually replace the keyboard on this.
That is the crazy thing, right? You cannot just replace the keyboard.
No, they replaced the entire top.
The entire top, not the keyboard can't pop out.
It's all glued in there. It's like they got a machine in China that just goes and squeezes glue inside it and just it's done.
Which is insane.
It is.
So it's not an easy fix, first of all.
It's an easy fix. Just replace the entire bottom of the
yeah,
laptop.
You get a new computer.
Move out the actually, now think about it, because everything's soldered in. So they had to transfer data. So cool.
Yeah. Basecamp employees, they took a survey of their equipment. 6 of 13 third-generation keyboard owners, or the 2018 revision of MacBook Pro, indicated their keyboards have failed. Mm-hmm. And a Twitter poll found that half of the users are simply just living with it. So, I can't, use the S key now. That's a terrible example. Probably something that doesn't. Let's just say the Shift key.
It's cap locks. On mine. I tell you which ones it is. It's the heavy use keys, like the Shift, or not Shift. Excuse me, you just said that. The space bar. The left side of my space bar doesn't work.
But the right side does.
The right side.
So you could live with it then.
But... Well, yeah, but because you're like, if I hit this key at a certain angle, or if I get rage typey, then it'll do it because you're pushing through it.
Right.
So is Apple going to do anything, or is this just like, whatever, you bought it?
Whatever.
Great.
I mean, obviously they're doing warranty stuff, but the butterfly switch, I don't think people are a fan of to begin with.
Yeah, and just to save that.
They keep making everything thinner and thinner, and all their products look sexy, but the fact that it's even with their iPhones, you want more battery, or do you want it to be not even a millimeter thinner?
I want to use the Casimir effect to power my device.
Yeah. So, anywho.
Apple.
What do you got?
What do I got?
What do you got?
I got some interesting details about the world of streaming music.
Okay.
Um,
You got all the icons down there.
yeah, not all of them, but a lot of them. So you've got Apple Music, then there's Spotify. I think that's Google Play.
I was wondering what the
headphones are. I got to be honest with you. I don't use Android, so and the other one is Tidal. I know.
Sorry.
I
I put these things up, and I don't know what any of them are.
Yeah, so streaming music accounts now for almost half of all global music revenue.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
It's still kind of mind blowing.
No, so I got some statistics for you, and then I want your thoughts on some things here because I think we're gonna head down a cultural divide or generational divide is what I mean. Okay, so last fall, streaming was responsible for up to 75% of U.S. sales. That's incredible. Just U.S., right?
Right.
Streaming grew by 34% in 2018, and it accounts for more than 47% of global music sales, which great. I mean, it's just a matter of time, right? Physical sales of like music CDs, only 25%.
I'm surprised it's not lower.
I feel like I should write something like hashtag CDs are dead because 25%, that's pretty low. I mean, but your car still has a CD player, right?
Yeah. There's a CD in there. It's been there long enough. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, like who doesn't use Bluetooth?
I'm waiting for the car to be like, when can I use Bluetooth? Come on, warm up. And then the CD will start playing. I'm like, no. What is this? Why is this music playing?
Streaming sales surpassed CD sales in 2015. That was like the first official year that streaming beat CD sales. So it's been, the thing is, it took a long time to get there, but then a really short time to really become the top dog, right?
Yeah. And
so here's where I got to ask the audience and I got to ask you.
Okay.
And I think this is a generational thing, but I couldn't imagine. I will pay for a streaming service, but I will still have my music because someday I'm going to stop paying for that streaming service and all of my access to music is gone. Mm-hmm. That's one, right? Okay. I don't care about having CDs, but I care about having MP3s. I need to carry around this baggage of technology.
Yeah.
I need this. It's who I am. Right, I think that because we grew up in a generation of CDs, we have to have the thing.
Oh yeah, I remember first iPod came out, and iTunes Store was like the big revolution.
Right,
and you would download it, you wouldn't even stream it.
Exactly, you'd have it on forever. So the other thing here is, do people actually have like a large quantity of people actually have like unlimited data streaming for their mobile devices?
I don't like rent any kind of streaming service. I just do Pandora.
You piggyback off it, but okay. So you waste your mobile cell data.
Pandora takes like no data.
Are you sure?
I don't ever go over on my plan.
Okay, well, I mean, but if you are, okay, so Utopia says it's generational, and I think it is because I don't care about having a CD. Like, I'm not my parents. I don't need to keep the vinyl records around and look through them. I don't care about the artwork and that kind of stuff. I just care about the fact that anywhere I am, I need to have them. And I need them to be, like...
Napster.
Yeah, I don't know. So, it's a thing. So, yes, I remember Napster. I never downloaded a ton of stuff off Napster. Never. Who didn't? But... I need that stuff. So again, clearly it's a generational thing. Younger people are like, I like the freedom of it, but I don't want to give somebody $10 a month in case.
No, I don't either.
And what happens when you can't pay for it? And then they're like, oh well, we're just going to take away all that stuff.
Well, it's not even on your drive, right? It's just.
I think some like Apple Music and others, you can actually store music, so when you don't have it, or you can synchronize stuff.
This is how out of touch I am with it. I have no idea.
But when you get yourself back on the interwebs and you don't pay for that service, it goes, hey, John didn't pay for this. Whoop!
Well, yeah, it's like any other.
Right, and I don't.
I just compare it to a video service, and
yeah, but I don't. The thing is, I think the video service is actually more tolerable.
Well, I mean, when I'm at home, I just fire up a YouTube channel, see whatever I want.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, the car
because you clearly are watching Two Guys Tech on YouTube.
On a repeat over and over and over again.
Not only is he's creating the videos, and he has to watch.
When I'm watching like our videos over, I normally have like Reddit on top of your face though.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
So you just want to look at yourself. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on with this. I hate to be like that get off my lawn kid sort of thing, but at a certain point, will you actually get to own anything?
No, everything's going to be a rental service. I mean, you see that with...
It's as a service all the way through and through, which I'm not a big fan of. So as a service, let's talk about internet as a service.
All right, so this is the new bandwagon everyone's been jumping on. Elon Musk was, I think, one of the first that they want to launch thousands of satellites in orbit for internet service.
Okay.
And the big sell has been to areas that have a hard time getting internet, including other countries where it's just impossible to get lines there. And this would be the easier way to do it.
Right.
So Amazon's jumping on the bandwagon. They would like to launch 3,236 low Earth satellites.
Okay.
There's no word on speed, price, or when it will be available because there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through, mainly the FCC.
Well, not in other countries, right?
Right, that's the thing.
Just in the U.S., you're like...
The United States is the big one.
Right.
So, to give you an example, though, SpaceX filed for FCC approval back in 2016. However, 2 months ago, this is the crazy thing, SpaceX asked for the FCC to approve up to 1 million satellites in low orbit.
1 million satellites!
I mean, we all know Elon Musk is a little like,
oh.
boom, Twitter! Right? I'm going to be in the news lines tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
So,
wow. And the FCC's like, yeah, that's doable.
I like how it hasn't even passed yet, and they're like, hey, we would like to add 900,000 to what we were already wanting.
Oh my gosh.
But
that's absurd.
It's a cool idea.
No,
It'll be interesting to see it happens. The problem is, like, everyone wants to do it, and the big thing with the FCC is we already have a ton of space junk up there.
Right.
And was it India that recently shot down one of their own satellites?
Yes, to prove that they could do it, yeah.
NASA got worried that debris was going to hit the International Space Station.
Right. That's true.
You have satellites running into each other on top of the space junk. I mean, there's just so much...
What do they call that effect where, they don't want to talk about if enough satellites collide and produce a...
That we can never leave orbit?
Yeah, that we can never leave the planet.
We're like encasing ourselves in so much garbage we can't even get space vessels.
Yeah, every time we go up, we just turn into more space junk.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I can't remember what they call that, but it's some like massive like terror-inducing thing for astronauts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that Facebook was looking at doing that too, right? They had like a little like drones or blimps or something that they want to fly. Just high altitude, but not into space, but high altitude.
It wouldn't be as cost effective either. I mean, you have to somehow propel it versus the initial cost. It's forever in orbit, and then they're small enough and cheap enough. You just launch another one up, you need to replace it.
Yeah. Utopia says Amazon's the king of showing wild ideas in the press and releasing press releases to boost stock. That's true. I mean, the whole like flying drones to people's houses, that was a big deal too. And then they're like, oh well, that's a little too hard to do and get through.
Yeah.
So
they're very good at like patenting something, knowing that people will see it, and it ends up in the news. Like Amazon's had this crazy beehive drone set up for like city deliveries, just insane stuff. But
yeah.
Anywho.
So the internet's coming from space.
Yes.
I imagine the latency's got to be horrendous.
They actually said it'd be really low.
That's
really
a lie.
low.
That's a lie.
That's the thing. It's all like, we don't know, we can't tell you anything, but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
What is Donald Trump writing their press releases?
I didn't say that.
Satellite internet of any sort has to deal with the physics of light.
But they say it's gonna be low.
It's gonna be low.
It's gonna be low.
It's gonna be at like 500 milliseconds minimum round trip.
I think this is something insane like 25.
Nope.
While you were talking about your next product, I'm gonna look this up.
Nope. Okay. I want to talk about my next product.
All right, do it.
Apparently, did you know that VR is not dead?
Well, it's certainly trying.
It's trying not to die. So Valve is been quietly working on their own headset. And I say their own headset because Valve, everyone thinks of the Vive, right? The Valve Vive, except the Vive was made by HTC for Valve, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so Valve didn't actually have a headset. They had basically an ODM, an original design manufacturer, design it and make it, and that was the Vive. And then the Vive Pro, which are HTC-owned properties. Valve has created their own.
Okay.
And it is called the Index. And I don't have a picture of it, or I'll show you. Actually, I don't have a picture because they haven't really officially shown it off in a complete fashion. That will come on the 1st of May, when they're going to talk about it officially. But, of course, in an accidental leak of some details, it showed up on the internet and then was quickly removed. Because that's the thing that seems to happen all the time. Yeah. So either they have really bad PR people, or they just, that's the new thing, is to leak it out. But so we have no firm details, but we don't know what the resolution is, what the full field of view is. These are things that are important to me.
Mm-hmm. I think the best thing they could do is just have a good price point.
And that's interesting because they're going a different route. The Vive came with the nunchucks,
mm-hmm.
and it came with what they call the lighthouses, which are basically the cameras in the basically the IR they call them lighthouses, right?
Okay.
That allowed you to move in 3D space. This system has stereo cameras in the front for inside-out tracking, which means it's going to be watching your space and then see how you move, and that's how it. So you don't technically need the lighthouses. Lighthouses would be far more accurate, and you don't get controllers with it. You buy controllers with it, and they have.
Okay.
Hey Jamie, thanks for joining us. And so they call their new controllers the Valve Index controllers. They were actually the Knuckle. They made these new controllers they called Knuckles motion controllers, and that's officially now the Valve Index controllers. I have some minimum requirements for you. You'll be pleased with these minimum requirements. Minimum requirements.
970. It's gonna be 970.
It is.
Boom! I knew it.
You took my punchline. So
that's my baby.
Because John's got two 970s as a computer, and
they're hanging in there.
And they are. I mean, he's got an SLI, and it's been the best investment you've ever had in the computer wise. So minimum requirements on the PC side is a dual core with hyperthreading, which you really can't get in a modern Intel processor anymore because you have to. All the high-end quad-core still ones that have hyperthreading. They turned off hyperthreading for the cheaper processors. Whatever, 8 gigs of RAM, GTX 970 or RX 480, that's RX is the AMD brand, right?
Pretty reasonable.
They're very reasonable. But Valve is recommending that you have a quad-core CPU and a GTX 1070 to have the best user experience. So
that's not bad either, actually.
No, it's not. That's pretty modest considering we've moved on to the 2070s, right? Where, they're asking for basically last generation gear to be usable with this. And again, May 1st is when all this kind of hits the ground, and we'll know more about it. It's interesting that the Valve headset actually has headphones that look very similar in the video or the pictures that have been released. They look very similar to the Oculus headset, like I've got. Because remember, the Vive had no headset. You had to put your own headphones on to get that experience, which people liked, people hated, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's I was just gotta say, it's pretty clear that Valve is still pretty committed to VR, right? I mean, think about it.
That's good.
I honestly can't say that I think that Oculus is really committed to VR. They're committed to like affordable VR headsets that would just be usable for the user, but very cheap and not really like powerful. Right? Because they didn't sell $1,000 headsets. They didn't, or $600 headsets. They didn't sell nearly as many as they wanted with the CB1. And their new generation's not so great either. So Valve is obviously pretty committed, which is great. It means that Valve is probably going to be fully supporting that and further on in Steam.
And passing the torch.
Moving on, John. Let's talk about cancer. Faking malware. Do you like what I did there? I paused for dramatic
way to
effect.
segue into like, hey,
John,
video games.
John, let's talk about cancer. Faking malware.
Jeez. Wow. Okay.
All right.
That's a terrible segue. Just ignore him. All right. So
I'll be here all show.
Some researchers in Israel basically wanted to see if they could create malware for medical devices.
What is malware, John?
All right. Malware is basically it can take over certain parts of your network or your system to put things there that you don't want to be there.
Do things.
So basically using your computer to do other things that you're not doing.
Using your computer to do things that someone else wants you to do.
It's pretty simple, oversimplified.
Yeah.
But
I'm down with that.
So I mean, hospitals obviously are getting a lot more computerized, and you got these CT scanners, and what they discovered they could do was as usual, words
come out of
they would trick radiologists into thinking that a test had cancer, like a patient had lung cancer.
Okay.
And let's see here. They did 70 actual scans, lung scans.
Okay.
And the radiologist diagnosed cancer 99% of the time.
Wow.
And none of the people had cancer. And then...
Did they tell them that their system was infected?
They did not. So then, here's the crazy thing.
Okay. As if that wasn't crazy enough, but continue.
I know this just gets worse and worse. I just want to add that this is not out in the wild. This was a test.
This is one of those like academics.
No, this is good because they're like this could happen, and they proved it could happen. So steps are going to be in place. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, it's not out in the open. I'm assuming.
Right.
They said it's not. so they were given a set of 20 scans and told these are fake, and this 20 some are already modified, some are not. half of these 20 were modified, and they're still tricked into believing the scans with fake nodules 60% of the time.
Wow.
That's with them knowing. So then they were also able to mask people that actually had cancer.
Oh, really?
That's the scary...
Why would you... Let me... The academics are like, hey, I got an idea. Let's make some malware that infects CT machines and makes fake cancer. Oh, I got one better. Let's take away the cancer because we are evil.
That's even worse.
AF.
Yeah, because you got someone who's getting sicker and sicker. And so obviously the implications of this are like...
That is absurd. That's like Dr. Evil sort of like, I know what we'll do. Oh my gosh.
Except Dr. Evil has stupid plans.
Yeah,
this would actually be like, let's just say you're a politician. You could instantly have them out of the race by having a doctor say they have cancer.
Right.
I mean,
I see that.
Because you have to have tests before you become president, right? You have to have medical tests prove you're fit for duty, for service, and it's like, they have cancer.
So you're telling me that the Russian internet Vipins are being prepared to attack hospitals?
It's scary. I think this is horrible.
I mean, it is theoretical. So let's just put it out there. In all fairness, right?
It is, but they're able to do it, and I mean, obviously, they probably have a lot more intimate, access to the equipment than someone outside the hospital.
Right.
But there's already been some pretty terrible examples of malware versus other governments. That have happened, including disrupting nuclear power plants and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's real world. And you're talking about just a CT scanner.
You find those sort of systems are extremely vulnerable just in general because they
don't maintain.
It's that when you buy something like that, it's considered by companies like a hospital, they consider that an appliance. Mm-hmm. That's a system that was delivered to function as a thing and only do that thing. Mm-hmm. And people lose sight of the fact that there's a computer in there that's all driven by computers. Sure, there's this giant magnet spinning at a high rate of speed and it's taking all these photos, but the reality is that controlling all that is probably a Windows XP box and software that hasn't been patched because patching it would risk ruining it.
So what you're saying is they're treating it as like they're a smart refrigerator.
Basically, yeah. I mean, that's just the reality of it. It's like, a lot of the systems, we call them ISCs or industrial control systems, or ICSs, industrial control systems, like power, or like your power plants example, like the switches that open and close big chunks of electricity. They're running on DOS systems a lot of times, and they could be functioning off a floppy disk. They're completely vulnerable to whatever, but they're not supposed to be accessible by anybody, right? They're supposed to be air-gapped and separated, but getting into those networks, we could go on forever. I will stop going on forever.
Okay.
On and on and on. Hey!
Lighter topic. Sorry.
Let's talk about this.
I brought the whole show down.
Oh, no, it's my fault for saying cancer.
Yeah, it is. Terrible.
Faking malware. Okay. So, last week, John talked about the MySpace thing. Was it last week? I think it was last week.
Yeah, and how relevant they still are.
Right. Exactly. So, MySpace, oopsie-daisy, deleted or lost a ton of, I tell you how many. Exactly. MySpace lost 53 million audio tracks, right? And didn't say a word. Like, whatever.
And no one noticed.
Come to the rescue. The Internet Archive has got your back. The Internet Archive, for people who don't know, that is it's a website that's like, that basically...
storing the whole internet?
Yeah, basically that's what it does. It tries to crawl the web and store all the data, right? Now, they weren't downloading these, but apparently some anonymous... academic group was they were basically from 2008 to 2010 they were collecting music off of MySpace like to the tune of 1.3 terabytes of music, which is a ton of music.
That is a hoarder
in fact, it is 490,000 tracks because they were doing some sort of like academic study on it or something. I don't know.
It's a college student,
right?
That was a fan of Napster.
Yeah. So anyway, now that when that hit the news that was the thing that happened, basically they gave all this stuff to the Internet Archive and said, hey, do you want it? It's part of the internet, right? The history of the internet. And so the Internet Archive named it the MySpace Dragon Horde. I don't know why, but they did. And you can go and search it right now and go through only 490,000 tracks out of the 53 million that were lost. But hey, that's better than nothing, right? And they, of course, the Internet Archive created a tool that they call Hobbit.
Okay.
And we were talking about dragons, so why not? And you can use the Hobbit tool to search through and then listen to any number of these tracks. 2008, 2010, that was a long time ago. I mean, that's even its newest is 9 years old. So so you can hit that up. So it's not all lost. And apparently there's a lot of people who are happy about it. They're like, yay, some of that old music is available. Because a lot of the famous artists that exist now have their music on there. And a lot of artists really felt that was... I was doing some more reading about it, why people were upset when it came out.
Yeah.
It's because I guess a lot of people thought that would be where their music lived forever. They just assumed that MySpace would always be there carrying their music tracks.
Well, like you were saying earlier, the generational gap of
right, and so,
versus...
but it doesn't make any sense because it was free, and you don't never should assume that stuff's.
So, question for you.
Yeah. Did
you go to MySpace after reading this?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't know. I mean, I'm not going to go there, and I'm not going to go to the Internet Archive and search for it because I don't care. I just thought it was interesting because the long story short here is, John, I want you to know that things on the internet never die.
No, they don't.
All those nudie pictures you put on the internet, they're never gonna go away.
You saw those?
No. Well, yeah, that's why I started the YouTube channel. Anyway, so
I don't even know what you're searching for.
Oh yeah,
that would be the most random specific Google search ever. John, Two Guys Tech,
John nudie
Wyoming,
photos.
Lived in Montana.
Oh my gosh, why would you? What? The question.
How many tags would have to be on it?
Oh my gosh, that'd be funny. I should start doing that hashtag. No. Two Guys Tech John nudie photos.
Oh god.
Let's get that trending.
Have someone photoshopping me on something.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I just if you put something on the internet, it's never going to go away. I mean,
the Internet Archive's interesting too because you can see websites what they looked like in the 90s.
Right.
It's pretty interesting.
When I was a kid and I had a band, I'd go back and check on it just to see what it looked like, and it doesn't do a complete job. It just gets most of the assets. Excuse me. It's kind of a snapshot in time, but a lot of links, a lot of active things don't work because that required stuff that they wouldn't have been able to pull through.
Right.
Anyway, the Internet Archive is a cool place, and you can donate to them if you like. So, John, telling me about students in Oregon.
Yeah, more Apple news. So there's 2 students in Oregon who returned $900,000 worth of iPhones, and what they were basically doing was buying Chinese knockoffs, which the Chinese are very good at imitating Apple products, enough that they returned them to the Apple Store and exchanged them for new iPhones.
I can't.
Which they sent back to China and were sold as real iPhones.
In all fairness, that is brilliant, and those people deserve. I mean, they're obviously going to get jail time, but I mean, that's a brilliant.
It's pretty insane that
there's so many levels of
good.
WTF in that. Yeah. Like, how do you walk in with an fake iPhone to an Apple store, and they're like, hold on. The genius guy's like, boop, and plugs it in, and they're like, yeah, this iPhone is broken.
Here's the thing. Okay, so every single time it was battery failure because they can't test it.
Oh, so they just brought a phone that couldn't even start up.
So here's my question if you're taking it to an Apple store. 1, what about the serial number? Okay.
Yeah, you think they would look? I would have looked it up.
2, you have to have some sort of Apple account.
Do you?
Pretty sure you do. At some point, to use any feature on the phone at all.
Yeah, but if the phone is dead and you walk in, and you're like, "Hey, this doesn't work," but you're right. I know that from personal experience, they check to see what the warranty status of it is, right? Because you only get like maybe a year on something, even a phone, maybe even less.
Well, they have to have some kind of record of the serial number.
Unless they did this during the time when you got free battery replacements.
I can see
but I don't know.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
but
still,
it is.
You're telling
impressive.
me they don't do any kind of like record of like what's your name, what's your? I mean, maybe there's some other scam with selling driver's licenses. I don't know.
No, I'm. There might have. This might have been an inside job. It smells like an inside job.
I just don't understand how you could go into the store enough times to cost Apple $900,000. So I don't know, pretty crazy. Obviously, there's federal charges. This actually happened a year ago.
And it's just come to light now?
It's just not coming to light.
Okay.
But Apple received more than 3,000 warranty claims from these 2 gentlemen.
Nobody's at the wheel there just checking to see why does John Doe here have 3,000
It would
warranties?
be funny if it was like one Apple store. I don't think that store manager would have a job anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's an inside job because that would be a pretty smart thing to do. Be like, oh, hey, so you got a new dead phone. Like,
I just can't. There's so much failure here. I mean, if there's like $100,000, we'd be talking about it.
I'm certain that some geniuses lost their jobs, at a minimum.
Yeah.
That wouldn't make them very genius. But.
Well, they
Hey.
All right, that's what I got for Apple
this
week.
That's impressive. I gotta say. So yeah. So I mean, I think we're done with the news. So I just gotta ask you what I always ask you, and that is, what games you playing? What are you doing?
I am pushing my system to the max with Adobe Premiere as usual.
But you're not complaining about it crashing, so that's a positive.
No, I just seen that video of my keyboard like.
Lagging out. Yeah.
So.
That's your fault for getting an RGB keyboard and then expecting it to work with Adobe running.
It just cracks me up because, like, when I start rendering files, like, after I edit them for our channel, like, I just go do something else because my computer just goes...
Yes.
And my keyboard is a Corsair RGB keyboard. And, like, so it has, like, this rainbow pattern of lights that's very fluid, looks really... It's pointless, but it looks cool.
It's beautiful, yeah.
And then as soon as it starts rendering, it's like... It's just like, oh, okay, I can't even use my keyboard now. Like...
So, needless to say, you're not playing any games.
No.
Would you like to play Battlefield 5 and do some micropayments?
You know, I am so out of touch on Battlefield 5. I don't even know what war it is. Is it World War II now?
It is World War
See,
II.
which I would actually be really interested because I'm pretty fascinated with all the world history that had that during that time period. But
it's fascinating, and I just gotta say on a side note, it's amazing that there was so much of World War II that they can have all of these video games about World War II and not like overlap each other. Like, oh, we did this battle over again. It's like, no, but whatever. So as always, let's talk about swag. So what you see John and I wearing, if you can see it, this is our, we have swag. We've got a Spreadshirt shirt. If you feel like supporting the channel, stop by, take a look. We appreciate it. It helps us keep doing this and basically funds all the fun and dumb things that we do, right?
Yes, and we got a lot of projects in the pipe.
Yes, we do.
Kind of been slacking on the recent videos, but we're trying to catch up.
Slacking is not the right word. It's just been busy. Busy.
Yes.
We're primarily a YouTube channel. That's our link to the YouTube. If you're watching us, you could be watching us on any number of different streaming platforms, and thank you. But we put all of our video on demand and the stuff that we release, all the tech stuff, on YouTube. So consider stopping by and subscribing and checking us out. We would love for you to do that. And as always, thanks for watching. Thank you, John.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Aww.
Oh, everybody, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you later.